Welcome to Fantasy Baseball, Baseball, Baseball. I'm Dan O'Day along with Steve Romano. Hey, Steve.
How you doing, Dan?
I'm doing okay. You know what I want to do? I would love it if you're interested. Maybe we could talk about some baseball, Major League Baseball, because I love what's going on. We're getting close to the All-Star break. We're more than halfway through the season game-wise, and there's a lot of interesting
Yeah,
things going on.
yeah, there are for sure. There are.
Absolutely, Steve. I do this every week to our vast amount of listeners. Who has the best record in the major leagues right now?
I is that the Dodgers now?
Nah, you did it the second time I got you. It's still the Tigers.
Fuck,
The Detroit
really?
Tigers with 57 wins and 34 losses and 626 percentage. They are the best team in the majors. They're 7-3 in their last 10 on a 3-game winning streak. They just keep getting it done, Steve.
Yeah, they have a lot of guys playing well, and really, they don't really have any guys that are like dead weight or pulling the team down. Like even like their weaker links appear to be like replacement level player.
Absolutely. And I think they're getting a lot from their pitching staff, I think, more than they expected.
Yeah, definitely more.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's a fun team. We were talking about Riley Green in another format recently. He's having a great season. He's had a great couple weeks, but they're the best team in Major League Baseball. We'll stay with the AL Central. Let's put it this way, Steve. What do the Tigers got to do? They got to stay interested. They got to get their ship in order because they're 13 and a half games ahead of the
Yeah.
Twins, who are 5 and
They
5 in the last 10. I mean, it's almost over.
Yeah, like a month ago, that was, all the
Four.
other good teams, and everyone other than the White Sox, they were within like 6 games
Yeah, they were
just
all
like a
Minnesota.
month ago.
Absolutely. 3, 4 weeks ago, Minnesota, KC, Cleveland were all within reach. Now it's 13 and a half games. Obviously, with 70 games left, anything can happen. But I think Detroit's already got the title in the AL Central. Minnesota below 500 at 43 and 47. KC also below 500. Those two teams are thinking about doing something this year. And then Cleveland, we got to bring up. Not only are they 8 games below 500, but they're on a 10-game losing streak.
Yeah. I mean, all those teams, the fact that they're all under 500 now means it's been a very bad stretch. And Cleveland really just accentuating that with the 10-game losing streak.
Right, so they were
Yikes.
40 and 38, 2 games above 500, which would put them in second place. 10 losses later, they're 15 and a half games back, just going nowhere. And the White Sox, 26 and a half games back. They're 5 and 5, like KC and Minnesota, this last 10 games. So that's very interesting what's going on in the Central. Who has the second best record in the American League, Steve?
That would I
Don't look. When I ask you this, you don't
well, hold
look,
on.
right?
No. I know the surprise that the Yankees got past in the AL East. We'll get to that, but I still think it's probably Houston is probably second best.
Absolutely, they are. They're at 55 and 35, a 611 clip. 8-2 in their last 10 on a 3-game winning streak. They really have been playing well. A lot of pieces come together. People like Cam Smith finding his way. Houston's got a good team.
And their pitching staff, I mean, they've only given up it's 325 runs, which appears to be second best in the American League,
That is crazy. That is crazy.
right?
Yes, runs against is only
And
325. That is second best in the American
and
League.
remember, they've got like two or three full-time starters who are still out. Right? Christian Javier is still out.
Yes.
Garcia is out, and I think there's another one too. So I mean, guys that have been full on like 180 innings a year guys for like the past 3 or 4 years are gone. They had two of them that needed Tommy John.
Yeah.
So for their pitching staff to still be getting it done is pretty damn impressive.
Absolutely. I mean, and with Hunter, listen, Hunter Brown is leading the way. He's having an amazing season. He's in the NL Cy Young racing right now race. So
Yeah.
they're amazing. By the way, that's not just second in the American League. That's second least runs given up in the major leagues. Houston. Seattle,
Wow.
yeah, in the major leagues, all the National League teams have given up more. Seattle 7 games back, but 7-3 in their last 10. They've won 3 in a row. They're keeping pace, so you got to like how they're playing. Texas now 11 games back and below 500. Los Angeles also below the Angels 500 by 3 games, 43 and 46. And the Athletics 37-55, 19 games back. But I like the Athletics roster. I gotta tell you, I like a lot of their young players.
They, yeah, they've called up a bunch of young talent this year and last year, and yeah, they their scouting and development department seems to be doing good. You
Absolutely.
know that.
And a player I have in fantasy, Kurtz, I'm really high on that guy. I think he's great. They've called him up and he's hitting the ball well. He's at 240, but he's got a lot of power. Wow, we go to the AL East. We bring up what you brought up. Toronto has taken over the Yankees. They're now 3 games ahead of them on a 9-1 in their last 10, and they are on an 8-game winning streak, Steve.
Blue Jays have been playing good. A lot of
Absolutely.
some hitters been coming around too lately for them. Some guys that got off to slow starts.
Yeah,
I know George Springer's been on a tear.
George Springer has been on a tear, and they needed that. They were kind of at a point where you weren't sure which way they were going to go, right? Like a 3, 4 weeks back. But they've been playing
Yep.
well. Bichette playing well. Guerrero's playing well. They're getting great play out of Barger. Is it Barger or Barger? He's a
Yeah.
young guy playing well. Springer on a tear, like you said, leads the team in homers with 16. And Kirk, only 7 homers, but he's batting 301, a guy they've been looking to be a leader for a few years, actually, coming into his own. I really like their team. I think the pitching they're getting is a little surprising for them, and that's what's keeping them going. New York Yankees now 8 games above 500, 3 games back, but 3-7 in their last 10, and that's what's been the difference in the last 10 games.
Yeah. And I think the 10 games before that weren't great either, to be honest. Because at one point they were like 18 games over 500, I think.
Yeah, they were, and we were talking with another friend of ours about the Yankees, and he brought up, and I concurred that they're just not getting their pitching. They don't. Their pitching is hurt and not doing well. They got like 2 starters they can really rely on.
Yeah. They did have a lot of arms go down, most notably Garrett Cole. That goes without saying.
Yeah.
I mean, that guy's like a top five pitcher every year. So when you miss him,
Yeah,
you're gonna miss him.
but they should have someone in the pipeline, and one team that usually seems to have somebody ready to pick things up when they need somebody is the next team, Tampa Bay. They're tied with the Yankees with a 49-41 record, 3 games behind Toronto. They're 4-6 in their last 10, so not playing great in the last 10. But once again, Tampa Bay Rays just keep getting it done and staying close.
Yep. And they just keep having prospects,
Right, they do.
pitchers, and
Players,
you know,
absolutely. The
relief pitchers
Mangum,
who become
Simpson,
starters. Yeah. Oh,
those hitters.
yeah, they're those guys too. Yeah.
And they just got back their that shortstop. What is it? What's his name? Kim. Um, so I just think they're an amazing team. The way you keep finding players to play and spending probably the least amount of money in the major leagues, also almost. So, but Steve, now that we've gone over, we didn't finish that division. Then there's, of course, your team, the Boston Red Sox, 6.5 games back, 6-4 in the last 10 on a 3-game winning streak, and then Baltimore, actually playing decent, 6-4 in the last 10. They've won their last three. They're actually playing better as of late. Baltimore. This is how they expected to play out of the gate, but they're finally doing it.
Yeah. Baltimore finally starting to play like they should. The first 2 months were terrible for them. And the Red Sox are basically like, 10 games they're crappy, 10 games they're good, 10 games they're crappy, 10 games they're good. That's the
Yeah.
way, that's kind of how the season's been going so far.
Absolutely. And we touched on it before. Runs against was, the 325 by Houston is second to the Texas Rangers, who've only given up 315. But in that same division, with the top two runs against, least amount, are the Athletics, who've given up 524 runs.
Ooh,
That's
that is a
crazy.
lot.
So
That
for
is a lot.
so for all their good players, either a lot of them aren't pitchers or that stadium is just not friendly to pitchers. And before we go to the National League, it's something we got to really get into because we're approaching the All Star break. We got a week left. Um, it's time to go over the wild card standings. I mean, right now the top three teams are Detroit, Houston, Toronto, and the Yankees are the first place wild card team. Tampa Bay Rays are
Yep.
second, and then Seattle Mariners are right now in the third position, meaning Boston is 2.5 games back, Texas is 4 game, Los Angeles Angels are 4.5 games, Minnesota's 5, and KC's 5.5. But they're both under 500, as are the Angels and Rangers. I mean, are these teams thinking I can get to the wild card, or what's your thought on what do you do if you're one of those teams at this point?
That's a tough call, really. I mean, obviously, I think the Rangers and the Twins are more invested in the season.
Right.
I think the Angels and the Royals, anything that happens positively this year is kind of gravy.
Absolutely. I mean,
Um,
it obviously has to do with contracts and situations. And like you said, what were they thinking going into the season? And I agree. I think, Texas is going to keep playing for the wild card and not be
yeah.
trading away people. I can see the Angels making some trades. I see Kansas City wanting to stay active for a while and Minnesota, actually. But I got to tell you, Cleveland, after a 10-game losing streak, I'm already thinking, yeah, maybe we should move who we can.
Well, sadly though, they were thought of highly going into the season, right? I mean, they were probably a lock for the playoffs, at least as a wild card.
Yeah.
So to be 7 games out of the last wild card spot right now, and they're not exactly the best, most spending ownership group, yeah, I would not count on them to think they could make a run.
Absolutely, especially when there's not one, two, three, four, 5 teams in front of them. If there's seven back and there's one team in front of them, more of a possibility. So that's what's going on the wild card. Now we go to the National League, and you are correct. In the National League, the best record is the Dodgers at 56-35. They're 6-4 in their last 10, although they've lost their last three. And then there's one interesting thing I wanted to bring up to you about the Dodgers. They have scored 500 runs.
Good. That's a lot of runs,
Yeah, they
right?
have
That's the
scored.
most. Yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
that is definitely the most. There is another National League team not far behind them in second place. So they have been great. They have widened the gap in the NL West. The Padres now 7 games back, and the Giants 7 games back. Technically the same record with different percentages. Both 5-5 in their last 10. So the Dodgers kind of making that separation from the pack.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense in the long run. Dodgers did kind of get out slower than expected, and those other teams got out way better than expected. But now, the regression of the means makes sense in this scenario because the Dodgers lineup is they're loaded. Their team is stacked.
They're stacked, and they got Otani pitching again, but he's only pitching like 1, 2 innings, and in some ways it has to be hard on the bullpen because every start he's only it's a bullpen start. So I don't
Luckily, they've
know.
got like
Yeah,
they've
they
got
got
like 4 or 5 elite bullpen arms at the back end.
they do. A lot of those guys could be closers on other teams. So they have been great. They have a plethora of pitching. I think they already have a 6-man rotation. So the Dodgers are the cream of the crop in the West in the National League. The San Diego Padres and Giants are 7 games back. Arizona, who's been sticking close, now below 500, 3-7 in their
Yeah.
last 10. They're now 11.5 games back. It's got to be disappointing for Arizona fans. And then Colorado, actually 3-7 in their last 10 is a good considering their whole season. They're at 21-69 on the record with a 233 winning percentage, 34.5 games back. 34.5 games back for the All-Star break. Going to be interesting if that hits 50-60. Yeah, tough season for the Rockies. And this is the one thing that's very interesting about the Rockies. They have given up 550 runs, even more than the Athletics.
That is absurd.
It is
I
absurd.
mean, that is crazy. 9 times 6 is 54. So they're giving up more than 6 runs a game. Gosh.
That is crazy. The second best team in the National League is the Cubs, and they are 54 and 36 at a 600 percentage, and they're 7 and 3 in their last 10. They have 492 runs. As I said, someone was right behind the Dodgers. So they've scored
Yeah.
a lot of runs, but there's a big difference between the two teams, though, Steve. So only 8 runs scored less than the Dodgers, but they've given up 366 runs. The Dodgers have given up 423 runs. So plus 126 differential for the Cubs and plus 77 differential for the Dodgers.
Yeah. The Cubs have definitely had a longer run of dominant wins.
Absolutely, and their pitching has been really surprising. I think to me, anyways. Another good team pitching wise, Milwaukee. Look, they've only given up 363 runs, 6 and 4 in the last 10. It's only 4 games back of the Cubs. St. Louis is 6.5 games back. They're 48 and 43. Cincinnati is also above 500, 8 games back. They've lost two in a row, 4 and 6 in the last 10. And then those Pirates, 16.5 games back, 6 and 4 in the last 10, lost three in a row. But they're playing a little better lately, Pirates.
Yeah, they have been. Though they did just get shut out 3 games in a row here in Seattle by the Mariners.
Yes, they
The
did,
Ma-
and that's the Mariners needed that actually.
yeah,
Then the
and
last
the Mariners pitching just looked amazing. I mean, it
Well, the
was
Mariners
sick,
pitching
really.
is really rounding on into form, I think. I'm really impressed with Seattle. They had some arms come back, right, recently, and their
Yep.
hitting is starting to come around. And of course, some hitting has been fantastic all year when you talk about Cal, Raleigh. So the last division is the National League is Philadelphia Phillies, 6 and 4 in their last 10. They're 1.5 games up on the Mets, who's 5 and 5 in the last 10. I think this is going to be kind of a dogfight between the two teams for much of the year.
It does seem that way. I mean, there's some weeks, we talk about baseball and the Mets are there and they're being stalked by the Phillies, but now the Phillies have passed them and the Mets are trying to keep pace. Yeah, I think that's going to be a tight one. That's going to be one of those ones where they'll both be clinched for playoffs, but the division winner and the wild card team probably won't be decided till the last few days of the season.
Yeah, I agree with you. I need to look at the schedule. I wonder if they're playing each other the last week of the season. So that's interesting. The Mets are actually getting Senga back, so that could help them. Miami, third in the division, below 500, but they're 7 and 3 in their last 10. Pretty impressive. And then Atlanta, horrible start, brought it on, kind of caught up close enough, but 2 and 8 in their last 10. Now 11 games below 500, 13 and a half games back. And then the Nationals are last place, 16 and a half games back. Sad about the Braves. I was kind of impressed the way they had fought back after that 0-10 start, but reality
Yeah,
just kind of caught up with them.
it kind of shocking too. I mean, I know they had some injuries, but they got Acuna back, and when Acuna's right, he's a top five player,
Yeah,
and he has been playing well. Like, I mean, if you look at his slash line's good.
yeah.
So, but they lost Chris Sale because that guy's brittle. Go figure. Um, I don't. Yeah,
They lost
I
another
really
pitcher.
don't
Didn't they
know.
just lose another pitcher to the season? I forget.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah, Schwallenbach, right? They
yeah,
lost Schwallenbach,
wasn't it
who
him?
was
Yeah,
doing well.
who's doing great. Actually, their best pitcher on the season. Um,
And
yeah.
and Strider hasn't been as dominant as
Come on,
many
just
were
say it.
expecting.
Strider hasn't hit his stride.
Strider hasn't hit his stride. Yeah.
Just say it. It's there. It's like laying there for you to say. One interesting thing about this division I found was the Mets and the Phillies have both given up 358 runs coming into today.
Interesting.
That's interesting. I believe it is also. The Phillies are plus 55, though, scored 11 more runs. Mets are plus 44. So we go to the wild card real quick because that's really what matters. All these divisional races we don't really need to go over really much, just the top teams in the league. But in the National League, it's the Dodgers, the Cubs, and the Phillies right now. It got the three positions winning their divisions, and the top three wild card teams are the Mets, then Milwaukee, and then San Diego. The Mets are 3 games up. And San Diego is actually tied with San Francisco for the third spot, basically.
Hmm. And there's some teams that are close right on them too.
Absolutely. This is still a fight. And that's why St. Louis above 500 and Cincinnati above 500. They're 1 and 2.5 games back, respectively. They are totally in the race. And this is why Arizona, I mean, they really are still in it, only 4.5 games back, even though they're 3-7 in their last 10.
It doesn't take much really in the great scheme of things. Like if let's say you have a 15-day stretch where you can go 10-5, that's not asking a lot, right?
No,
I mean,
no,
unless
it's
your team is just terrible,
right.
like, one of the bad teams.
And you listen, and any team, even a good team, can go on a bad, losing streak like that. But I will say you're still in it at that point. And with 70 games remaining or so, if you go 10
Yeah.
and 5, now you have 55 games remaining. It starts to get a numbers game. But I would say Arizona is still looking to make a wild card. Miami's 7.5 games back, Atlanta 9. I mean, these teams are way out of it. Pittsburgh 11, Washington 11.5, and Colorado 27.5 games back in the wild card hunt.
Yeah, and some of those teams where you're like, Arizona, Miami, Atlanta, you're like, well, should they keep trying? But then you got to think about the teams that you need to fail. Like I need San Diego and San Francisco and St. Louis to all start playing worse than us.
Yeah.
And that's where you might have to take a bite of reality, a nice dose of reality, and realize it's not going to happen.
I would say a couple weeks after the All Star break, teams like Arizona, Cincinnati, and St. Louis, maybe not St. Louis, they're in the thick of it, but they got to take a look. I mean, I know 2.5, 4.5 games back. Miami will just keep playing the way they're playing. I mean, they're not going to really change anything. It's not like they went all out to win this year. They're just
True,
playing pretty
true.
well. But yeah, they're going to have to make a decision because I believe Cincinnati and Arizona both have players with contracts that could be traded that could bring them some prospects. So we'll see what happens. But it's an exciting race as we talk about the wild card, and really that's what we need to concentrate going forward, isn't it?
Yeah.
Close
And
races in the divisions in the wild card race.
I have my bi-weekly pitch though to of the Milwaukee Brewers, who just, I mean, under the radar, right? I mean, Tampa Bay gets all the press that they should, and they do. But Milwaukee really is like a small market, doesn't get a lot of attention. But if you go through their past decade or so, they've been a wild card team, probably 6 of the past 10 years. They always end up facing one of the juggernaut teams, whether it's the Braves or the Dodgers, and they get eliminated from the playoffs. But for a team whose payroll is like 18th or 20th highest, they're always competitive. They make good moves. They have kids that they call up. They're one of those teams that keeps calling up prospects that do decent, and they make sound trades when they make trades. So
Yeah,
I'm
no,
always
I
impressed with
agree.
with Milwaukee.
I love Milwaukee. You know what else about Milwaukee, Steve? It's a great baseball city. They have great fans. And one of the reasons they have great fans is because they've had great teams through the years. Remember, the Milwaukee Braves used to be there, right? So
Yep.
there's a lot of grandpas remember them. And then in the 70s, remember the Brew Crew? Remember
Yeah.
who
Oh
was their
yeah.
manager? Well, who was their Gorman Thomas and all those guys? I mean,
Yep.
they were great in the 70s. They didn't really have too much success, but it was a
And
fun
the
team.
80s, the
And the
80s.
80s, yeah, into the 80s, absolutely.
You know,
So it's a great
I mean,
baseball
well, they had
town.
Paul Molitor, Robin Yount, the
Yeah.
Gorman Thomas
See,
era.
was Cooper, Cecil
Uh,
Cooper was there at first
Cecil
then?
Cooper was there for a while. Ben Ogilvy was there.
Ogilvy, yep,
You know,
yep. Ted Simmons caught for a while, I believe.
Ed Simmons, yeah. And they've always been one of those teams that's kind of an above 500 team, but they just don't have a lot of playoff success, you
No,
know?
they don't. And it'd be, it's a great city to see win the World Series if and when they get there. So I'm kind of pulling for them this year. Thanks for the pep talk. I agree. I'm pro Milwaukee. I hope they make a wild card. So let's go into stats, Steve, because I always find it interesting. The stats, we're now past the halfway point. We can't go, okay, times two is what he'd have for the season. We can't do that anymore, but we can come close. And the Aaron Judge watch continues. He's now up to 360. Last time we talked a couple weeks ago, he was at 350. So something. So he's playing well, as always. He's Aaron Judge.
Yeah, I mean, he's hard to pitch to for sure. I mean, a 468 on base percentage.
That's
You
crazy.
know, I mean, he's getting on base 47% of the time. Crazy slugging over 734 slugging. You know, no one else is above 650.
That's crazy. He's got 33 homers and 74 ribbies and 80 runs. One of the reasons he has 80 runs is because he's walked 65 times. That's all in 90
Yeah,
games. Yeah, I mean, that's just crazy. His stats are crazy. His dominance and being an elite baseball player continues. Fun to watch. We've said it before. Lucky to watch that guy play baseball. Then second in batting average is Wilson, the rookie extraordinaire, batting 335, 9 homers, 42 ribbies. He's playing well for a not great team.
yeah. One of those kids brought up by the Athletics that they struck gold with, really. He wasn't in the minors that long. I don't think he was in there longer than 2 years.
Yeah, I think just a year or two. I think you're correct. I think last year was his second year, and he came up in 24 for like a handful of games. Will Smith, third in the National League, and I brought this up before. I find it really interesting. He's batting 332 because his averages beforehand in career are 248, 261, 261, 258. He batted in 114 at bats, 289. So to bat 332 this point in the season with 232 at bats is pretty impressive. He must have changed something. Did you know what I'm saying? Did he change his approach?
Yeah, I have not heard. I have
I,
not heard.
I've not heard
But
either.
but he's playing fucking fantastic.
Yeah, and I think he's a pretty good defensive catcher. He's got the 12 homers and the 45 ribbies and the 44 runs. And just to boot, I like to look how many walks. 42 walks. So that's why his on base percentage is 433. So just really impressive. Will Smith Pena from the Astros batting 322 in the number 4 spot. He just got injured. I think he's out for a while.
Yeah, I think he is out for a while.
It's a shame. Astros playing well. That'll be a big loss to them. And Aranda, I got to bring this guy up. He's batting 320, batting fifth in the majors in batting average. But what a season he's having. I mean, this kid is 27 years old, and he's only had 128 at bats the most ever before, and he batted 234. And this year he's just putting it all together.
There were people who thought he could do this. I was not really familiar with him all that much myself, but kudos to the people who were on board early. He seems like a player for real.
Yeah, well, I'm looking at his minor league stats right now, and he dad bat 330 with 14 homers and 65 ribbies and 100 games in 2021. So I could dive deeper, but just seeing that shows that he had some pedigree in the minors. So that's the average, and then in home runs, we got to bring up the home runs is listen, chicks dig the long ball, isn't that one of those phrases? So Cal
Yep.
Raleigh with 35 homers just continues his incredible pace and play for the Seattle Mariners.
Everybody loves him up here. He has literally like somebody that everyone watches the games for him. If some of the young kids that work for me might be like, "Oh, I went to a Mariner game on Saturday," and I'll be like, "Oh, that was a good game," and they'll say like, "Yeah, Cal Raleigh hit a home run." Like it's the everybody loves him. He's kind of like the toast of the town.
That's great. Well, he is the big dumper. So it's not a good nickname, I'm telling you. But he is doing great. He's got, 35 homers and 74 ribbies already. He's walked 56 times. Always like to look at that. And he's got 62 runs. He's getting on base. He's batting 268, which is 48, 30, 36 points higher than he's ever batted before. Um, just coming into his own, really, if you think about it.
And for a catcher, granted, all the good like Will Smith, who also DHs quite a bit, because if they're that good a hitter, you want to keep them in the lineup. But I mean, Cal Raleigh's appeared in 88 games. Like for a catcher,
Yeah.
and I bet you he's caught like probably 75, 78 of those games.
Okay, Steve, I'm
So
glad you
he's
asked. He has games started at catcher, 66, but he's played 68 games, so he came in a couple games later, and 21 games at DH. So
oh, there you go.
I think he's doing a pretty good job of getting him rest, though. Who manages up there?
Oh,
Who's
the manager is former Mariners catcher Dan Wilson.
Dan Wilson's the manager? How come I didn't know that? That's great. I love it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah, he replaced Scott Service on the interim basis last year, and
Oh, and
then
he
they made
kept it.
him the official manager. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember Service. Judge is second in home runs with 33. Otani third with 30. And then Suarez with 28. Schwarber with 27 are the top five. No surprises there at all.
No, not really. I mean, I guess
Suarez,
like if
maybe.
someone would have, yeah, Suarez, yeah, because like if someone had said Suarez is going to hit 28, 30, 32 home runs, I'd be like, yeah, sure, I could buy that. But if they were like, he's going to do it before the All-Star break, I probably would have said, nah, he's not doing that.
Right.
You
I
know,
mean, last year he had 30, 31. 30, but what's his high in a season, Steve, without looking?
did did, did he hit 40? I'll say 38.
49 in 2019
What, what the, was that
for
with
the
the Reds
Reds.
still?
49 and with 103 ribbies, he batted 271.
Good Lord, what a year.
What a year he had. Absolutely, right? That's crazy talk. So he
Yeah.
definitely has it in him. And listen, he's not that old. He's 33. He's got at least a few more good seasons in him if he keeps playing like
Well,
this.
and he's a guy, he's a unrestricted free agent at the end of the year, and he's somebody
Oh,
that's come up a lot. Like, would
wow.
Arizona move him? Like, if they talk about moving, the two guys they're talking about moving are him and Naylor, the first
Wow.
baseman, because they're both
Wow.
free agents.
Right. Naylor just signed a 1 year. Oh no, they got him in a trade with 1 year left on the contract, right? Um,
Yep.
yeah, and so wow, that is big because I think he's very popular in Arizona. He's been there for a while. But you're right. Uh, that's a guy that I'd trade because unless he just really gives you assurance he's going to resign. I mean, I'd trade him, right? Someone's going to take
Yeah.
that bat and give you a lot for it. But the Arizona, as we talked about it, are probably thinking we're still in this. And well, they should. We go to RBIs, and I want to go to RBIs real quick and the league leaders because the RBI leader for Major League Baseball, I believe, did not make the All Star game, which is not a big deal, but interesting. Who
Who, who,
who is
who's
it, Steve?
that?
Suzuki.
Seiya Suzuki?
Yes, he has 77 ribbies to lead the major leagues.
Wait a minute. Like, I remember previously,
He was top
like
five or seven.
Crow Armstrong was doing a lot of driving and runs, and
He was up there
was it
too.
Suzuki the other one?
Yeah, he was the
Was
other
he
one. It was those
Swan?
two. They were close.
Oh, all right.
They were top
Yeah.
five or six the whole season, but now he's 10 ahead of Crow Armstrong, who's down at number seven with 67. But he leads the major league with 77 ribbies. He did not make the All Star game. Whatever. 25 homers, 263. He's having a great season. He leads the major leagues in RBIs. Judge, of course, is second with 74, tied with the big dumper at 74. And then Alonso at 73 and Suarez at 73. And I got to bring up Riley Green at number six, 71 runs. He's having a great year also.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, one of the reasons the Tigers are in it, they're having some great play by him. But once again, besides Suzuki, those top and Riley Green maybe those top other guys you expect Judge, Riley, Alonso, Suarez, they're RBI guys.
Yeah, well, Judge and Alonso for sure.
Yeah,
That makes sense. The rally thing, I mean, sure, this is just an accentuated
but
version of what he is, but
and what he did last year, he had
with the
101 last year, didn't he?
yeah, he
Yeah,
had 100.
yeah. So it's
So
great to see him, and he seems like a great guy when I see him interviewed and stuff.
yeah, he is. He
Yeah.
seems like a cool dude for sure.
I want to bring up stolen bases because we have a new stolen base leader. Caballero overtook O'Neill Cruz, 31 stolen bases for him. O'Neill Cruz with 28. Crow Armstrong with 27. And then I got to bring up Simpson with 24, tied with Witt, because, Tampa Bay's just running wild.
Yeah, and Simpson's got 24 in just 47 games. Like, the other leaders are 71, 80, 89 games, and then he's 47. And then the guys after him are 91, 90, 85, 73, 84, 89. Yeah. So that guy's like the speed demon.
Wow, that
He
is.
is like
Oh wow.
what was the guy that used the Reds guy that was he never really panned out, but he could steal like 80 bases,
Oh
like a
yeah, who was
decade or
that?
so
What was
ago.
that guy name? I forget his name. I know who you're
Was
talking
it
about though. Maybe I'll think about it.
Hamilton? Was it a Billy
W-
Hamilton,
Billy
right? Billy
Hamilton.
Hamilton.
Yeah, the guy could run. He just didn't have much of another. He was pretty good in defense too, if I remember, because he was so
Now this
fast.
guy, looking at Simpson's slash line, he's got, he's hitting 302, which is
Yeah,
solid as hell.
absolutely.
But 335 ops, 340 slugging, so he's got no power whatsoever.
Zero
And
power.
so
From what I understand
his
is he
his
came up.
ops
Yeah,
his ops is 675, which is not good,
not
right?
good. But if he's a
But
traditional leadoff hitter, you don't need that. And he was up earlier, and they sent him down for defensive reasons, from what I understand. So
right,
yeah, so
yeah.
he came back up. He's hitting like he did earlier. Once again, Tampa Bay just finding people getting it done. Now, Steve, I always like to bring this up, as you noticed from our conversation. Who leads the major leagues in walks? Don't look.
Well, I would have to assume I will go with Judge, but I wouldn't be shocked if it was Soto.
Yep, Soto was 72. Devers is second with 68.
That'll go down.
Judge was 65, Schwarber was 64, and then Ozuna 62, the top five in walks. And since I'm doing walks, let's just do the last offensive stat I want to do is can you tell me who leads the league in strikeouts? And I'll give you a hint. They're playing well
Uh,
this year. And we brought them up earlier.
we brought them up earlier. They're playing well. They lead the league in strikeouts. Is it Schwarber?
Riley Green with 116.
Oh, Riley Green.
Schwarber has 102 and 12th. Yeah, he's three ahead of O'Neill Cruz and McMahon for the Rockies. They both have 113 strikeouts. And then Riley
Yeah,
has
I mean, I like
112.
Riley Green, sure. Like, I'm all in. Not saying he's not good, but yeah, I mean, when you have like a 30% strikeout rate,
Yeah,
those are red flags. Can they be overcome? Yes, they can, but you'd rather not them be there, you know?
absolutely. We had this conversation in another format earlier, and he is batting 286. He is getting on and scoring runs with 50 runs. He has 22 homers. His previous high was 24 in 137 games. So he is playing great, but he's striking out like a third of the time almost.
Yeah, it's way up there. It's
Absolutely.
one of the worst in the league.
And I didn't want to get confused. Austin Riley is in fourth with 112 run score, strikeouts. I mean, 112 strikeouts. So that's offense. Let's go to pitching real quick because there's a couple pitchers I think are very impressive. And one of them, as I brought up already, is Hunter Brown for the Houston Astros. I mean, this guy is just unreal. I mean, I don't know if you realize this, but in 23 and 24, he started 29 and 30 games. So he's been a workhorse for the last couple of years in today's standards. And he's having a great year. 1.82 ERA to lead the league. 9-3 win loss. A 0.90 WHIP.
Damn, 0.90 whip.
Yeah, 126 strikeouts and 104 innings. So Hunter Brown just dominating for the Astros. One of the reasons they overtook Seattle and we have a commanding lead really now is their pitching, Framber Valdez and him and others. And you spoke of people that are disabled that I think they're getting off the IL later in the year. So they could do what they usually do. Second in ERA is Skeens with a 1.94, which is impressive.
That
And
kid's
then,
good.
yeah, he's
He's
good.
a he's a true once in a generation type guy.
Yeah, here's the funny thing. Not funny for him. He's 4-7 because he's on such a bad team.
I know I mean, they're not going to resign him, right? Like they won't ever pay him what he's worth. So
How many more
ultimately,
years? How many more years does he have?
four after this.
Well, you don't trade him now, or do you? No, you don't trade him now.
Well, if you traded him now, you're getting the greatest haul in like baseball history. Because I
Absolutely.
don't think any elite player of this magnitude has been traded so young, so early.
And let's put it this way: he's at his peak. Not that he'll get worse in the next 4 years, but I doubt he'll get better because he's already one of the best. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Right. So
yeah.
you would
So,
get the peak if you traded him, but an interesting
but
dilemma for the Pirates. But I don't think they're looking to move him.
no, but I would bet you he's traded in 2 to 3 years. They're not
Yeah,
gonna like they'll trade him before he goes into that fourth and final year.
yeah, I agree. I agree. Those are only two pitchers under two in ERA and WHIP. We got a lot of people averaging less than a run per inning. We got Skubal at 0.81, Wheeler at 0.84, DeGrom at 0.89, Ryan at 0.89, Brown, as I spoke of, 0.90. Those are top five whips. Then we got four more guys under one run. So pretty impressive pitching this year.
Yeah, there's been a lot of great ones for sure. That Brian Wu from the Mariners has been on fire.
Absolutely. I
You know, I,
love Wu.
I think I read a stat that said every start he's pitched this year has gone at least 6 innings, like every single one.
Wow. That's crazy great, especially
Yeah,
nowadays.
I think he's the only person who can say that. Like he's the only pitcher this year who has had every start go at least 6 full innings.
That's incredible. 8-4, 2.77 ERA, 104 strikeouts and 107 innings, a 0.96 WHIP, like I said. I'm going to just double check that real quick, Steve. I'm sure it's correct, but a quick look at his game log shows me that indeed he's gone 6 innings every single start.
There you go. I like
Pretty,
it.
yeah, that's pretty impressive. Absolutely. Um, so a lot of great pitching this year, and I always like to ask you every week who's leading the league in strikeouts.
Well, now I do know, unless he got past yesterday or today, because I watched the Red Sox game yesterday and they said Crochet
Crochet has
has the lead.
151 Ks, not quite on pace for 300, but high 200s. Schoolbull next, 148. Wheeler next with 148. Wheeler's having an incredible season, just to let you know. He's 9-3 with a 2.17 ERA, a 0.84 WHIP, 148 strikeouts, and 116 innings. Zach Wheeler never has won a Cy Young. I think he's looking for one.
He is amazing. I mean, when the Phillies signed him originally to that the first deal they did when they got him from the Mets,
Yeah,
that ended up being a steal, but then extending him has turned into like a mega steal. I mean, they're going to get, when it's all said and done, he's going to give them like 7 years of some of the best pitching career of all time. You might be retiring that guy's number.
absolutely. This is his sixth season with the Phillies now. So he's been great. He pitched a
Oh,
complete game shutout. Not shutout. He gave up one run, only one hit, only one runner past the minimum. He faced 28 batters. It was a home run by Nemo, I believe. Um, so Zach Wheeler, I got to bring him up. He's a Philadelphia Philly. I'm a Philadelphia Philly fan. He's been playing great. And just to let you know, Logan Webb is 8-6 with a 2.62 ERA. He's fourth in strikeouts, 133 strikeouts, 120 innings. Um, he's great. I was looking at him the other day, Steve, and I didn't realize this, but since 2001, he has started 26, 32, 33, 33 games. And then this
yeah.
year's he started 19. I mean, he's the epitome of a workhorse. This guy, he gets it done. He's going to get you 200 innings, which nowadays is what you're looking for.
Yeah, there's only like five guys who will give you that.
Yeah, it's changed. I mean, the days of 250 to 300 innings are kind of gone, aren't they?
Oh, yeah. I mean, look, they do have, they've got the analytical stats that are like definitive proof that the more times you go through a lineup, the more you get hit.
Yeah,
You know, so
absolutely.
and they're just like, so the amount of guys that go through a lineup 3 full times, there's only a handful that anybody trusts to do that anymore.
Absolutely. And now I think, these bullpens have better arms than they did in the past too, like deeper bullpens.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Before, I mean, growing up for us, right, the bullpen, there'd be lots of like journeyman starters who could be like, oh, this guy could be a fifth starter, or he could be like a bullpen guy.
Right.
But now, yeah, these guys are just groomed to be elite 1, 2 inning pitchers from the
Yeah.
time they're 20 years old.
Absolutely. That's the difference in the last 20, 25 years for sure. I'd say even the last 10, 15 years more so. Just to let you know before we get off, innings pitched, your guy who has 120.1 innings, Crochet, and then Webb with 120.1. They're tied with innings pitched. Freed with 119, and then Skeen, Skubal, and Wheeler with 116. Framber Valdez with 115. Those are your innings leaders. So, they're all averaging just a little over 200.
Yeah. You know, I did see a stat on the Red Sox game the other day. Crochet got 150 strikeouts. He's the fourth Red Sox pitcher in franchise history to have 150 Ks before the All-Star break.
Wow.
And yeah, the other three are Chris Sale, Pedro Martinez, and Roger Clemens.
And
That's a
just to let
it's a
you
pretty good
know,
group.
that's a great group. I don't know if the All Star game is later than it used to be. I don't think so. Both Skubal and Wheeler will probably get starts this week and also go over 150.
Yeah,
Yeah, pretty interesting. A lot of strikeouts. And I think one of the reasons is everyone's swinging for the fences, Steve.
indeed they are.
Indeed, they are. That's Major League Baseball. It just gets more interesting. I could talk about numbers and the breakdown of the season all day long. I'm Dan O'Day. That's Steve Romano. Thanks for joining us. Peace.
Have a good one.